Welcome into another exciting episode of my Dynasty Fantasy Football YouTube. Today, Dynasty Stashes. As always, make sure to subscribe if you haven't. Let's go. So, of course, we have to talk about Jacory Croskey-Merritt. Now, honestly, he's already gained a lot of value. I don't know how much more he can gain, depends on your league, but he was a rookie sleeper that I loved. I talked about him in the pre-draft, the rookie draft process. Now he's getting a lot of attention, especially with today's news. Even more attention with Brian Robinson being traded to the 49ers. So I think we need a reminder of why I liked him originally. He had a very bizarre college career. Played at Alabama State and FCS school from 2019 to 2022. Didn't do all that much. Transferred to New Mexico for 2023, and he was pretty good. 189 carries, 1,190 yards, 17 touchdowns, 6.3 yards a carry, 7 catches, 72 yards and a touchdown. Didn't do much as a receiver, but 99.2 rushing yards a game. Insanely efficient with lots of touchdowns. Then he transferred to Arizona for 2024. Played the one game. Was pretty good. Then he was declared ineligible. We've all heard this story. There was eligibility issues with the jersey number. He wasn't allowed to play anymore. If he had been allowed to play, he probably would have been a round 4, round 5 pick at least. But that's not what happened. Now, of course, we can talk about the constant drumbeat with Croskey-Merritt. I don't know if I've ever seen a drumbeat this consistent. Every single report, even from the beginning in early May, has said that he's looked great. He was first earning a spot on the roster, then earning a spot in the rotation, and then he kicked Brian Robinson off the team, essentially, which is kind of crazy that all of this has happened before we've played any games. Now, Robinson was just traded to 49ers, so that leaves Croskey-Merritt, Austin Ekeler, and Chris Rodriguez as the 3 main players on the Commanders running back depth chart. Now, I will say Chris Rodriguez did start the preseason game. However, Croskey-Merritt is better, more exciting, I think. So we're going to see what happens. But of course, we're probably past the point of really acquiring Croskey-Merritt. I've talked about him a bunch of times. He's in the news. I figured he deserved another mention just because of today's news. Now, speaking of today's news, Brian Robinson. Now, why would we consider Brian Robinson to be a dynasty stash? And honestly, of the two, Brian Robinson is more of a dynasty stash than Jacory Croskey-Merritt, who's already gained a lot of value. Now, Robinson was traded from the Commanders to the 49ers for a 26th, 6th rounder. It's not a huge return, right? Commanders are going to take on some of that $3.4 million salary for 2025. We've discussed the Commanders' perspective enough. But it's interesting from the 49ers side. What's going on here? They traded Jordan Mason earlier this offseason and a 25-6 for 26-6 and 25-5th. So essentially about a 5th-round pick. They didn't value Mason very highly. Mason signed an extension with the Vikings. And now they've essentially paid another 6th for Robinson. So they profited a little bit. And it is cheaper, but, they were, I think, thinking that Jordan James and maybe Isaac Guerrero could fill this backup role. And I'm not sure that they're seeing that as much anymore. So let's look at what the 49ers are getting. What are they getting with Brian Robinson? Brian Robinson last year was good. 14 games, 187 carries, 799 yards, 8 touchdowns, 4.3 yards a carry, and 20 catches for 159 yards. I often called him Boring Robinson. Very boring. He was fine. He averaged 2.3 yards after contact per attempt. He was good. He was delivering touchdowns. Wasn't so great in the passing game. And, had middling volume. He did slow down a bit through the back half. There were some more injuries. But again, he was a good player. Not great, but good. Now, what are we looking at with Brian Robinson? So pretty much every running back in the Kyle Shanahan era, except Tevin Coleman, has, and I can never resist the opportunity to take a shot at Tevin Coleman. Every other running back has succeeded. All of them when giving a chance. So if Brian Robinson gets a chance to play on the 49ers, he'll probably have fantasy value. Now, as you know, there have been many injury problems here. So that's the second piece. Injury issues. Isaac Guerrero has been in and out. Jordan James is still hurt. And Christian McCaffrey, we know about the bilateral Achilles tendonitis. And that will, it's debatable, I think. Is Christian McCaffrey currently injured? Is he not? I think there's some legitimate debate about that. The Achilles tendonitis is a risk. And we know if Brian Robinson gets in, he'll have a chance to play. Now, we know that this is the last year of Robinson's rookie deal. So he'll hit free agency next year. It often doesn't pay off for running backs, but sometimes it does. So he might have a chance to gain value, at least during the free agency period, which is another reason why I would consider Brian Robinson to be a stash at this point, especially since his value is probably going to be pretty low going to this spot where it looks like he's the RB3 on the depth chart right now. Now, my next player is also trailer related, Pat Bryant. This is relevant because of other recent events. Devon Vele was traded to the Saints for 26 4th and 27 7th. Okay. Vele was a rookie in 2024, but he turns 28 in December. He's an older player. Why the Saints did this, I have no idea. The Saints are incompetent. They're run by incompetent Mickey Loomis. So whatever. We're not going to talk too much about the Saints side of this. But we're here for the void that's left behind on the Broncos, which I think Pat Bryant can help fill. Now, Bryant was a 4-year player at Illinois, started as a true freshman in 2021, didn't do much. And then there's not much there. I mean, in 2022, 34 catches, 453 yards, 2 touchdowns, 37.8 yards a game. It's not that great. Then 2023, 43 catches, 560 yards, 7 touchdowns, 46.7 yards a game. Slightly better. Fell behind Casey Washington in the pecking order. Isaiah Williams was way ahead of him, even though he was a UDFA in 2024. So again, not all that great. Last year, though, in year 4, he was good. 54 catches, 984 yards, 10 touchdowns, 82 yards a game. Became the top wide receiver, led the team in yards, touchdowns, and receptions per game. So he did have a good final year. Now, for me, the relatively strong draft capital has helped. I discussed him as a rookie sleeper back in May. It was a common player I recommended drafting on the Patreon. And he went with a 74th overall pick in the 3rd round. It's decent draft capital. Ahead of players like Jalen Knowles, Savion Williams, Elikai Maynor, and Jalen Royals. So there were some notable players who went behind him. And at this point, we saw in the preseason, Cortland Sutton is their ex-receiver, and Marvin Mims is the other outside wide receiver. They're the top 2. Vele was in the lead as wide receiver 3, and he rested in preseason week 2 after starting preseason week 1. And Sean Payne loves to rotate his wide receivers, but a big part of that rotation is now gone with Vele being traded away. Pat Bryant and Troy Franklin will now have an opportunity to prove themselves. I think Franklin will get the first shot. And in deeper leagues, Franklin is a stash too. But Franklin did very little as a rookie, has worse draft capital than Bryant. And even though they already had Franklin, they decided to draft Bryant anyway. So in Dynasty, I'd rather take a shot on Bryant because I think there's much more long-term upside with Bryant than with Troy Franklin, who I think is not really going to be all that much. So that's where we are. And we'll have to see what happens week 1. But I do like that Pat Bryant has much more of a path to opportunity than he did before the Vele trade. Now, if you like my YouTube content, you should sign up for the Patreon. I'm offering a 50% discount off your first month at all tiers using code TylerYT50. You can get my rankings, access to the Discord, write-ups, Patreon-only videos, direct message fantasy advice, and the ability to ask in advance questions for the YouTube videos. Tiers begin at just $5 a month, $250 with the discount. If you want to know more about the Patreon, check out my Why You Should Join the Patreon videos on the channel. And again, there's been so much news. I mean, I'm not going to be able to cover everything on these YouTube videos. The YouTube videos are 3 times a week. I'm covering everything every day in the Patreon. I promise you won't regret signing up. There's just nothing that compares to it. I'm there every single day. And I interact with, hundreds of people. We do hundreds of messages. We talk about every topic. It's a great value. That's why I'm willing to give 50% off your first month so you can see what I'm offering. Start Sit is going to be on there. I'm not doing that anywhere else. So it's going to be for patrons only. If you want to sign up, patreon.com/fantasy advice. The link's in the top right corner. Use that code TylerYT50. Get 50% off your first month and join right now. And I would really love that. So many people have joined. And I'm looking forward to seeing more new people on there. With that said, I'll get into my next player. So next up, Ollie Gordon, who I haven't talked about much on the channel. I did mention him in passing after the Alexander Madison injury, and again after Jalen Wright's struggles and Gordon's strong play in preseason week 2. But I want to take a look at Gordon's college profile a bit to explain why I'm in on him. He had an interesting 3-year career at Oklahoma State. Didn't do too much as a true freshman in 2022, but in 2023, he had a monster year. Really, really big year. 14 games, 285 carries, 1,732 yards, 21 touchdowns, 6.1 yards carry, and 39 catches, 330 yards, and touchdown. He was awesome. I mean, if he had been able to declare after this year, he probably would have been a second-round pick. But unfortunately, he wasn't able to do that because it was only his second year. He came back in 2024, and it was not good. 190 carries, 880 yards, 13 touchdowns, 4.6 yards a carry, and 29 catches, 179 yards, and a touchdown. It all fell apart. Less efficiency, way less exciting in the passing game, less overall work, just a huge step back. But in camp and in preseason, I think we're seeing more of the 2023 Gordon, and I'm getting a little bit excited for that. Now, we know that Gordon has strong college profile. We just went over that. He's just 21 years old. He turns 22 in January 2026. So his big 2023 performance all happened at 19 years old against strong competition. And his youth gives him the potential to gain dynasty value. So again, a lot that we like here. And Jalen Wright was awful. He had 4 carries for 3 yards last week. There was the whole goal line fiasco in preseason week 1. He just looked awful. Awful. There were some comments from the Dolphins coaching staff about how Wright didn't take advantage of his opportunities. That doesn't sound so good. Gordon looked good. He had 10 carries, 50 yards. And he's looked good throughout the preseason. I like what I'm hearing. I like what I'm seeing. I don't like anything that I'm hearing from Jalen Wright. And we know Devon Achane has a calf injury. Wright exited Thursday's practice with leg injury. Another problem now. Achane's injury, we've talked about it. It's well known. It's scary. But I'm not too concerned. He's a great player. If he's healthy, he's going to be the starter. We know that. But Wright, we've had so many problems now. I mean, he hasn't looked good. He didn't look good as a rookie. He didn't look good in the preseason. Now he's missing more time. Another problem. We don't want all these problems, right? I mean, Wright was a 4th-round pick. It's not like he was a 2nd-round pick. He has a lot of problems. I don't like problems. And we know that running backs can gain value with injuries in front of them. Alexander Madison is gone. Achane is hurt. Wright is now hurt and terrible. So Ollie Gordon has a great opportunity because of all these problems. We know that all it takes is one big game from a running back, and then people are looking to pay in Dynasty for that player. So Ollie Gordon is a great example of a stash candidate. Now, my last player, and I think I just have to talk about this again, because Spencer Rattler is going to be a week 1 starter. And he has no value. No one is talking about him. I don't hear anyone discussing him at all. Not at all. And he's going to start week 1 for an NFL team. And in Dynasty Superflex, we have to look at that. And this is different from the Colts, where we know exactly what Daniel Jones is. We saw a small sample size from Rattler. He played 7 games. He had 57% completion, 5.8 yards per attempt, 4 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. Now, he was thrown into a garbage situation on a garbage team with garbage weapons and a garbage coaching staff. But he was bad. However, that is a small sample size. It's not like Daniel Jones where we have a zillion games. We have 7 games with Spencer Rattler in the NFL. He's probably bad. But maybe he's better this year. I don't know. Now, in Superflex leagues, any starting quarterback automatically gets at least some trade value. He's going to have more trade value than he does now if he's named the starter. And let's talk about that. Rattler, as of today, is minus 460 to be the Saints week 1 starter. Now, I'm not going to do the math on that, but minus 460 means very likely that Spencer Rattler is going to be the week 1 starter. These odds have dramatically increased in the last week, and Rattler's going to start this week's preseason game for the Saints. And this is different from other teams with quarterback controversies. Rattler is younger than Tyler Shuck, actually over a year younger. So it's not like he's old or he's some veteran. He's actually the younger quarterback of the 2. So it wouldn't surprise me if they went with Rattler. He's cheap and young, just like Shuck. So there's no real reason for the Saints to have to go with Shuck other than sunk cost, right? Kellen Moore in his offense emphasizes short, easy completions. We've seen some of that in the preseason. They did add Devon Vele. I talked about that earlier. I think they overpaid for him, but it's not going to hurt. I mean, Brandon Cooks is washed, so, it'll be there to help the team for now, and we'll see what happens. But I do think Spencer Rattler could look a little bit better this year than he did last year. Tyler Shuck has been abysmal in every way, so it's not impossible that we get a lot of starts out of Spencer Rattler. And that could be something interesting to keep an eye on as we head into the season. Now, this has already been a news-driven season, but there was one other piece of news. Skyy Moore was traded to the 49ers. It was a 6-7 swap in the 27th NFL draft. It's 2 years away. Barely any return. And I'm not wasting time on this to discuss Skyy Moore. That's not why I'm talking about this. I'm talking about this because I want to talk about the 49ers mess. Demarcus Robinson was suspended by the NFL for 3 games. Jacob Cowing, Jordan Watkins, Juwan Jennings, Brandon Ayuk, and Russell Gage are all currently hurt. So that leaves Ricky Pearsall, Robbie Anderson, Robbie Chosen, whatever you want to call him, and Skyy Moore. That's it. There's nothing else. So Ayuk is going to miss a lot of time. Watkins is already pretty much ruled out for week 1. So Russell Gage is old and wasn't good anyway. Juwan Jennings, who knows when he's going to come back. So this is a situation to monitor. If any of these wide receivers can get healthy or have an opportunity, there might be some value, but it's all going to be up to Ricky Pearsall for what's going on right now. But you got to keep an eye on the 49ers wide receivers because we know they've gotten something out of nothing before. So we have to keep an eye on this room, although I will say not particularly for Skyy Moore. Got 3 Patreon questions and then I'll wrap up this show. How important is depth to you on your contending dynasty teams? Are there times where you keep a bench player you could otherwise flip for value? Yes. So there are times. I will say when it comes to depth, especially I would say running backs more so than any other position, the lower down they are on the rankings, the more likely I am to keep them. As in, I'm probably not riding out James Cook at his current value. It's just too much of a value loss to keep James Cook and not sell him. But if you're going to ride Aaron Jones into the ground, who has no value, sure. If you're going to ride James Conner into the ground, who you can't sell, sure. Right? So, yes, there absolutely are times, depending on how strong my team is, the stronger the team, the more likely I am to do it. And the lower down the valuation of the player, the more likely I am to do it. Can auction drafts be applied to dynasty drafts? If so, any tips and strategy for approaching an auction dynasty draft? Okay, yes, obviously you can do a dynasty auction, both in startup drafts, and then some of those leagues have linear rookie drafts like normal. Some of them have auction rookie drafts. I've seen both. In terms of how to approach it, this is something that goes beyond the YouTube, even goes beyond what I would do on the regular Patreon. This is something I would help you with in the DM tier of the Patreon. Every auction is different. I'm not an auction expert, but I will help you walk through your particular auction league in the DM tiers. I'm good. I work through contract leagues, which again, not my specialty, but I work through that in the direct message tiers of the Patreon. So that's the type of place that I would cover that type of stuff. But yes, you can do a dynasty auction. It's understood we want to be proactive in sending out trades. Would you go so far as putting a player on the block as something to be avoided? So this is basically asking, putting a player on the public trade block, should you do it or not do it? For me, it depends on the league. I think sometimes it gets things excited. Sometimes it gets things going. I'm okay doing it and sending offers. You can do both. Nothing is stopping you from doing both. But for me, I do it sometimes. Sometimes I don't do it. But I'm not saying it's something you cannot do. No, it's fine if it's a part of your strategy, as long as another part of your strategy is also sending offers. Have to do both. Now, if you liked the video, make sure to support the channel by subscribing, and don't forget to hit that notifications bell so you can be notified about all my exciting content as it drops. Of course, if you want my best fantasy football advice, is available on the Patreon, Dynasty, and then, of course, Start Sid and more content going on. 50% discount at all tiers using code TylerYT50. You can sign up in the top right corner, patreon.com/fantasy advice. Every sign up helps support my independent content. But once again, Thanks for watching. I'll see you all later.